Hello. Today I'm here to do a public thank you for St. Expedite, as well as to do a little book review on Jamie Alexander's book on St. Expedite called St. Expedite for St. Expedite. Okay, so he goes on to start off his book by explaining who St. Expedite is, a little background on him, and that he's a folk saint not recognized by the Vatican nor the Roman Catholic Church, but is a martyr and is widely venerated throughout many different communities and many countries. For instance, we have Latin America, which he's like prominent in, and New Orleans, where he is the patron of the city, and other areas such as Spain, Portugal. Okay, so he's the unofficial saint of emergencies, shop owners, businesses, shopkeepers, examinees, and he's often used to expedite legal cases that are just like overly long. I'm just looking at my notes just to keep me together. If I don't get this done right now, I might have my ass handed to me by St. Expedite, so it's gonna get done. Legend number one from New Orleans is that his statue had the convent, the Church of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church has sent out for a statue of the Virgin Mary, and they waited and waited and waited, and when they got it, they had another crate, and the crate had a handsome Roman soldier, and they didn't know the name of it, so they mistook the shipping label of Expedite as his name, and it stuck. So his depiction is right here. We have a St. Expedite petition image, and we see that right here he holds the cross with the word Hodie, which is Latin for today, and he is seen stepping on a crow, which with a bannerole saying cross, 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 which is the Latin word for tomorrow. So legend has it that he was a Roman centurion from Armenia that decided to become a Christian, and when he decided to go ahead and convert, the devil had come to him in the form of a crow and told him to deter it for the next day, right? And he said no and stepped on the crow and decided that he would be a Christian today, on that day. So this is symbolic of his power and how many people like root workers in New Orleans work with him heavily, because he answers prayers and is able to go ahead and turn things around or expedite situations, or to bring into fruition or manifestation in the 3D reality, our physical world, change in a very, very rapid manner. That is why we have the symbolism. He's a martyr. He hasn't been recognized or canonized, but it's very important to know that folk saints such as he or other saints like Santa Muerte are very, 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 still very powerful, and are loved by the people, even though not venerated by the church themselves. And they get their power and they get their veneration from the people, and that's something that says a lot, I think, to me. We have a couple of other things that he speaks about in his book, is working with him. I think what was interesting to me is that I noticed in his book he did not go ahead and say to go ahead and do to build a shrine in a triangular format, which we have many people online using as a staple because it's very traditional. Okay, like Pastor Veal, great channel, and also a lot of other people will go ahead and tell you that it's very traditional to do things in a triangle. So the triangle would be right here. You have his image. You would have a glass of water towards the right. I know you can't see it, but this is where the glass of water would be, and the candle would be towards the left, and that's how you would have his altar set up for him. Here, he does not speak about it in this book, which I think was really, really interesting. But he does go on to say to build up a shrine. And I just want to go ahead and, add in some key points to him, to what he had mentioned. He said to go ahead and put in a cleansing bath, or like a solution. So instead of doing it on yourself, to do a cleansing spiritual bath on yourself, he's doing a cleansing spiritual bath for the altar that will be used for the erection of his shrine. He goes on to say that you go ahead and just get 3 cups of spring water, some hyssop, strain it, and put some rock salt in it. So you obviously have to go through the whole steeping of it and to get the ashe, the energy out of it. The reason that we have hyssop here is because it's a very, very cleansing, purifying herb that's mentioned in the Bible. I cleanse myself with hyssop. It's in one of the Psalms. It's in the Bible. So it's very, very simpatico with the whole idea of who St. Expedite is as a folk saint, as a legit martyr, although not canonized by the Catholic Church. So the hyssop will be used for that. That's for the importance of it. Then the rock salt at the end is used because salt is a cleansing agent. It's used throughout various different systems of magic, not just hoodoo, but various types of magic. A salt absorbs negative energy, so that's why it's used. He goes on to say that you would dress the altar with a red cloth, because that's his colors are red and gold. So in my imagination, I guess you would dress first using that solution to go ahead and dress the actual table, shelf, whatever it was that you're going to head and use as the basis of the shrine with that. So cleansing, then to go ahead and put on the red cloth to give him, he does mention to go ahead and give him water, and he's put special stress on creating that relationship, creating a relationship with the saint, and that's very common within just witchcraft and magical systems, even in traditional, even in systems that would lead to initiation processes. If you are not born into it, you would go ahead and obviously have to go ahead and build a relationship with that deity, Orisha, spirit, what have you, first and foremost, before they can go ahead and make a connection with you and help you and give you a favor, give you a boon. Sure, sometimes they may go ahead and say, oh, let me look at this person and be benevolent towards them, or they may have some other reason, or you may just have, the luck of, beginner's luck. Sometimes that happens as well, but it's common to go ahead and do a rite of just to go ahead and create that relationship. So it's work, it's effort. He does mention that, which is interesting because we also have some other people, like there's another channel out there. She's I think her name is Yemi. I don't know, she's in I'm subscribed to her, but she mentions how like working with St. Expedite does not necessitate that relationship. So I think that this is a key point. I may not be going through all of the aspects of the book, but I think that's one of the key points that I got out of this, is that there's 2 different schools of thought. Here he takes on the view of, creating the relationship with the saint first and foremost, to go ahead and procure his benediction, his willingness to help you. And some of the ways that he does, because I don't want to leave out some of his important things, is to get a statue, water, change it daily. You can go ahead and pour it on the doorstep as a way to, the pouring of the water on the doorstep, that is his offering, is making a connection to your doorstep, coming into your life symbolically. So something that he blesses and fills with his energy is now being placed on your doorstep, on your floor, therefore making a point of contact to your home. Excuse me. And that's very key. It gives the energies a way to come ahead and bring that change into your life. You get what I'm saying? He goes on to say that as a soldier, he expects payment for services rendered. So back to my key point, what I was saying by the other school of thought is that the other school of thought says that you do not need to create a long relationship with St. Expedite. You go ahead and you make him his altar. That is setting up his, creating basically kind of like a portal, a sacred space for him, so that he can go ahead and be honored. And during that honor in which you go ahead and have his image, candle, water, you're saying your prayers, you're saying your petition, and you're giving him a promise. You're saying, I'll give you this if you give me that. Now, once he gives you that, the mere fact that you pay him for it is enough. That is one school of thought. You don't have to keep his image. You don't have to work with him on a daily basis. However, some root workers are very, very, especially in New Orleans, work with him, especially because of his rapidity, his ability to go ahead and create those big changes for the clientele and what have you. In other places, some people even talk about negative work. So you'll hear, I think in a place called Reunion. I think it's off the coast of one of these towns or townships in Africa that is has a heavy French influence, where you'll see sometimes beheaded statues of St.Expedite. Some people would say it's because they never got, that's there as an indication of the petitions that never got answered, or that's there to go ahead and break a curse, so you could go ahead and look at that how you want. But I just wanted to go ahead and say a couple of different things. You would go ahead and give him a couple of things. And it's mentioned here, very, very important, is pound cake. Some people would say Sara Lee pound cake. Some people would say any pound cake. Some people say the pound cake that you make may be even better because it's coming from your own heart. You're putting love and you're putting your own energy into that, right? So make sure you just fulfill your promise. So important thing is pound cake is traditional. Public thank you, like this one right now that I'm doing, is a public thank you to St.Expedite to fulfill my promise, for him helping me out for something that I asked for manifestation with. And this is interesting. He goes on to say something that I've never heard before. He said that some people that he knows, because he's a patron of New Orleans, and so that would be a New Orleans hoodoo, and voodoo would be a heavy influence on him, right? He says some people stress the need to give him red carnations. That's his favorite flower. And if you don't give him red carnations with the pound cake, someone in their family would die. So that's pretty cryptid. But that's just wow, it might be a good thing to go ahead and give him some red carnations or red flowers. I offered him 2 dozen red roses, and I'll be getting that for him as soon. I'll be getting that for him. Interesting note that red carnations are the way to go for him. Some other things, and in the building the relationship, just taking it from a witch's point of view, you would go ahead and give stuff that is symbolic or goes along with the legend of the particular deity, saint, energy. So here we have some other offerings would be incense. We have myrrh, sandalwood, frankincense and myrrh, given by the 3 kings, very Bible orientated. Sandalwood is also very purifying. He also has accepted watered down red wine, not just red wine, but watered down. Little keynotes, little gems right here, that I'm happy. Roman coins, glass of bourbon. So he also noted that in New Orleans, an odd offering to give him is a glass of bourbon. Cool. And he stresses to pay the offering in full. Whatever you offer him, whether it's just a pound cake, a public thank you, carnations, wink, wink. Some people would say, it depends. Some people have taboos, some people don't have taboos. That's interesting to see that. Another thing that he mentions is a hilarious story, and this is how I think it's telling of how communities, and especially, as a member of various different communities and spiritual, because, I'm a witch, I also have Sanse done, and I'm also heavily influenced by Espiritismo, Orisha worship, and also witchcraft in general. When you look at that, darn, I just lost my train of thought. But when you look at, the story, the hilarious story, it's interesting to see the people and the communities that give energy and get favor and really are creating a deep, deep relationship with the deity, with the saint, or with the spirit, or even an egregiory, they can come out with certain stories that show the power and how it's important and embedded into the everyday life. So he speaks of a hilarious story about how a woman in Louisiana was duped by a hypnotist that came to her door and basically hypnotized her and took all her money, got her to give him all his money, give him all the money in her house. And as he's walking away, the hypnotization, the hypnotic spell that she was put under started to wear off. So she realized what had happened while he was like basically walking down the block. She screamed out his name and said, and he started running. So when she realized that he started running and she couldn't catch up to him, she called out Expedite. And according to legend, a plane fell out the sky and hit him straight on the head and knocked him unconscious, at which she was able to go ahead and get to him and take her money and probably some of his too. So I thought that was funny. So anyway, a couple of other things that we want to talk about is the second. So he talks about creating an altar. We already talked about what we're doing is creating that relationship. I know I told you that the triangle thing wasn't really mentioned here, which was a keynote for me, but he does mention the constant changing of the water. Those little sacrifices, those little moments are going to be counted. Those are ways of you going ahead and getting close to that particular deity, spirit, and God form, if you will. The time, the energy, the prayer that you give is offerings. It's showing, it's going to be acknowledged. And the deeper you go into it, I remember something that Israel Regardie had wrote in one of his books. He said to inflame yourself with prayer, to really inflame yourself with prayer, to get closer. And in this case, and he was talking about, in your search to reaching the connection to your holy guardian angel. But in reality, that really is getting to a higher level of prayer, a higher level of energy, and a higher level of connection to the source, and will make you more of a beacon of light. And if you offer that energy and you speak to that particular deity, and in this case we're talking about St.Expedite, that's going to be a high level of energy. So I would say that that's something that you might want to do. That is very important in the whole creating of the relationship. Okay. The second, so he says, go ahead and create the altar, do those things, give some offerings, create the relationship, and then make a promise, say a prayer. He goes and saying, do Our Father, 3 Hail Marys, little things for the beginner, I think, and or traditional within certain sects and stuff. But, for certain people, as a witch, you can go ahead and like take things and add, but you don't want to do that, not necessarily all the time, because tradition is tradition. Tradition has its own power, and I think especially it's telling to even speak about this topic, especially with Saint Expedite, since there's so little known about him. He's a folk saint, and when there's that level of ambiguity or just non-knowledge, you better go ahead and work on tradition. Do what works. Do what works for other people. Don't go ahead and like dip and dive too far out of it. But as far as like the numbers of prayers that you do, the number of prayers, really, it could not hurt to do more. I mean, anyway, I think, in my opinion. But go ahead and read the book, Jamie Alexander, St.Expedite. This is a little thank you to him, and I just wanted to go ahead and speak about some of the stuff that was in the the book, but I'm going way over time. I just want to finish this up, as I think we're going into 20 minutes right now. The second way that he said to offer to petition him is to write a prayer paper, which is like an informal way of doing a petition paper, which is like heavily used in hoodoo. It's common in hoodoo. A petition paper is like you write an intention down 3, 6, 9 times, turn it over. If you do it to the right, it's going to be manifesting. If you do it to the left, it's going to be banishing. The same way like the moon, with the cyclical moon, waxing is manifesting, waning is decreasing or banishing. So here he's like, you do a prayer paper, you're basically writing the same thing, whatever you want from the saints and what you will give to him. You take that, you sign your name, you write amen. Remember, Christian oriented, this is a martyr. So obviously you're not going to be using a different, just it's very important to use that as a basis. And the Bible is heavily used in hoodoo as well. So in any way, fold the paper, put it on the altar on a heat-proof plate. You take the petition, light it on his candle. Now, when you're lighting that on his candle, that candle was already blessed with him, so it's going to be absorbed by him, and it's going to be using the element of fire to take that prayer into the ethers. Okay, so it's a couple of variety of different things. We have elemental magic, we have dedication to St.Expedite, we have the intention being written down on the paper, which is hoodoo oriented, and we have the prayer ashes being left on the altar, which is a dedication to him, where his spirit, essence, energy can be housed, or a portal to him is created and left on that altar until your manifestation is answered. It's untouched. So once that manifestation is answered, because you already promised him whatever you wanted, whether it would be a pound cake, whatever, and so forth, once that's answered, you would go ahead and get rid of the ashes and any biodegradable stuff, such as if you gave him, I don't know, candles, whatever that was, you would clean your altar, save for his image, and water would be a biodegradable ingredient, I think, or easily going back into nature. So you would get rid of that, and then give him everything that you promised. You would go ahead and give him the flowers. You would give him the pound cake. You would give him the public thank you, like a new altar. Just all the other stuff would just to get you there. So that's important. Like the candle, the prayers, the candle, the prayers, and the water were placed on the altar as an offering to him, just to get you his attention. Okay? Now, once that attention has been got, he answered your prayer, he gave you your manifestation, that's done. Now you go to the next stage, you going ahead and fulfilling your promise. Once that promise is kept, you're pretty much done. You can go to the first school of thought that I already had mentioned, which is just to go ahead and fulfill this promise, put up the altar, maybe do it in the 3 triangular format that I mentioned before, that is online. Go ahead and check out these other people's channels. They're really, really good. Pastor Veal, excellent. I used his channel, and what he said, he really goes into some really, really cool stuff, like traditions from a New Orleans, I believe, point of view, and putting coins on the pound cake, which I've never done, but that's just an interesting way to do it. And then also like lighting a tea light on the pound cake, which is interesting. Different ways of doing that, you know what I'm saying? So, and this author even speaks about how some people give him a slice, some people give him the whole cake, some people give him the cake with a tea light or a candle in it, and some people give it to him in a white handkerchief. So there's little variances, you see what I'm saying? So there's going to be those variances, but unless you have all your research done and you know a thing or two about magic, and I would stick to tradition and you use your intuition, obviously. And most importantly, once you make that promise, you best to go ahead and do right by it. Yeah, give what you promise. So that's kind of like what I'm doing right now. I just wanted to go ahead and give a quick video. Some of the other things that he talks about are making like a conjure oil with some of the ingredients for him. Okay, and a conjure oil is an intent oil. Let me see, a conjure oil that he speaks about is to add 50 milliliters of sunflower oil, 10 drops of rose geranium, 10 drops of wisteria oil, 10 drops of synthetic vanilla oil, 5 drops of cinnamon oil, 2 drops of patchouli oil, 2 drops of cedarwood oil. Blend them together, add a pinch of alkanite root, which is traditional hoodoo coloring. Let that sit for a few hours, wait till it turns red, strain it. I don't strain my oils. As long as they're like dry herbs, I don't strain mine. I just feel like it has more achet in it. And then bottle it, adding a few tears of frankincense. I would recommend, but not necessary. I mean, not everybody would, but I would recommend. A lot of people would say, go ahead. A good rule of thumb is to wait a full moon for it to get the ashe, to get permeated, for all of the herbs and whatnot to permeate through the oil. And a good rule of thumb is to go ahead and put that on the altar and ask him to go ahead and bless it for you with his energies, with his powers, and with his sanctity, so that it will work on any workings that you use it on. He also talks about some other workings that he... Go check out the book. He talks about doing a mojo hand. He talks about taking a bath if you want to take an exam the day before, or you want to do a curse breaker. He gives you a nice little curse breaker that you can use with crow feathers and stuff like that. Very, very cute. It's up to you if you want to supplement it with maybe like a candle working, like a double, like if you're doing that curse breaker, that is like a crow curse breaker. It's using his symbologies. The crows are sacred to him. He stepped on it, so you get crow feathers. That's going to be very much part of his energy structure, causing him to give you more attention. The herbs have their own inherent qualities. You go ahead and charge it up with your blessings. You can go ahead and say something, oh, I charge this herb, this high salt, to cleanse and purify me in all ways, shape, ways, and forms, in the name of Jesus Christ. Or you can call on the 5 elements: earth, air, water, fire, spirit. Do whatever is in line with your particular religion. But in this particular case, and I think it's important that I just say this right now, the author stresses this is a martyr. He may not be recognized by the Roman Catholic Church, but that doesn't matter. Not for those people that worship him, that work with him, that have received favor from him. That doesn't matter at all. Okay. So it's very important to go ahead and follow those things, because you don't want to go ahead and crisscross different systems. For instance, I was going to say you can go ahead and charge it with the 5 elements. Sure, you can, but you don't want to go ahead and charge it with, maybe, I would say if you're developed, you can go ahead and charge it. You can add more energy into that. But then obviously you want to charge in the name of Jesus Christ, because he died for Christianity, to go ahead and become a Christian. So you see what I'm saying? You don't want to go ahead and do things that are contrary to the particular deity, the saint. You don't want to go ahead and crisscross systems. I think that's important. And more importantly, the author states that it's important to know your Hail Marys, Our Fathers, and all of that stuff, because key for St.Expedite is that his power comes from his willingness to become a Christian and to legendarily step on the devil and to take on Christianity, and which eventuated in him being one of the 6 Roman centurion soldiers that were killed by King Diocletian. And because of that loss of his head, the symbolism is incredibly powerful. He becomes a symbol for the end of procrastination. He becomes a symbol for change, of manifestation, deeply, deeply connected to the Christ. So I think I'm done. We're about 30 minutes in. Go check out his book, Jamie Alexander, St.Expedite. Very cute book, very, very good book, very informative book, and a very good book for people who know nothing about him. I think that do your research, and most importantly, make your promises. If you do not make your promise, if you do not fulfill your promise with this saint, he can take it away and turn your life to shit, or turn whatever he gave you into shit. So don't do that. Okay? Bye-bye. Have a good one, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.